Well, welcome to the Inspiration Incubator, everyone. I'm your host, Leona Baker. Welcome, Jay. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Hey, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. I tell you, they're in for a treat because when it comes to photography, the best in Houston, that
Well,
would
thank
be
you.
all those beautiful photos that everybody loves that they see of me. This is my photographer, Ajay Raphael Photography. Okay.
Well,
So he is an amazing husband, father, community leader, and he has worn several hats over the years here in Houston and internationally. Okay. And so when I think of a consultant who is maximizing his skills, his gifts, and his talents, that would be Jay Raphael. And there's a quote that sometimes people use, but they don't always finish it. They say, Jack of all trades, but a master of none. And they stop there. And if you continue with that quote, if you finish it out, the quote really is Jack of all trade, a master of none. But a Jack of all trades is still better than a master of one. So we're going to let this Jack of all trades teach us today a few things about consulting and how he has moved around in his life. Take us back, Jay, to your childhood, and let's talk about your morals and your values and where you grew up.
okay. Well, first off, I grew up in what is considered the heart of the Mississippi Delta, and that is Greenville, Mississippi.
Greensville City in Mississippi is a city in and the county seat of Washington County, Mississippi, United States. The population was 34,400 at the 2010 census. Is located in the area of historic cotton plantations and culture known as the Mississippi Delta.
Here in Greenville, you're going to find we don't have many of the resources that you would find in some of your metropolitan areas because this is a small city. And because we have it coupled in Greenville, you're going to find that agriculture is king here. So growing up, we grew up with less resources, but it gave us a certain grind. It gave us a certain grit, and it taught us how to do more with less. And so that's why I feel as though my foundation was built in such a way where I feel like I can go anywhere and succeed.
That's awesome. That's amazing. And you have done exactly that. And as you were coming up, what was that family life for you? What was your home like?
My mom, when I was 5 years old, had 5 strokes, and she was considered a miracle case because many people can't survive one stroke, or if they have one stroke, they're experiencing maybe a paralysis of maybe a limb or an entire left side or whatever the case would be, or dealing with the traumatic accidents or the incidents that occur after the stroke has occurred. So they may have calcifications on the brain, and so they have memory loss and those things. My mom was able to endure the 5 strokes and overcome them in a sense where, yes, she still paralyzed her entire left side. So that means the damage was done to the right. However, she was able to learn how to cook again, how to talk again, how to walk again. And so because of that, I was early introduced to physical therapists, chiropractors, a lot of the medical arena personnel because of her life experiences. And so growing up, that was imparted in me because I had to do it for my mom. But I also was fortunate in a sense that my aunt, who basically raised me as my mom also, she was taking us to church 3 or 4 times a week. So I'm always at church. And so the motherboard took a liking to me. So, at church, we're cooking, we're cleaning, we're doing all the things that in order to keep the church house ran. And by accident, I learned how to cook. I learned how to clean beyond belief. And I learned a lot of those traits that you find more so set aside for a female, if we're going to go at it from a sexist standpoint, But now I learned how to do all those things as a young male. So
Mhm.
it helped me become well-rounded and have a foundation that was totally different than what you would normally see in a young male coming from a rural Mississippi.
What was that transition like for your mother? Because God bless her heart, the woman had 5 strokes.
So in regards to my mom having 5 strokes, we had to rehabilitate her from the standpoint she had to learn how to walk again. She had to learn how to talk again. She had to learn how to cook. She had to do all those things from a maternal standpoint and help herself deal with, because many people experience depression and those kind of things. So we had to experience all of that to get her to a point where she's comfortable dealing with the entire effects of stroke.
That's right.
From a mental standpoint, from a health perspective standpoint, and from a being able to function for daily activities to get your routine down pat. So there's a lot you have to do. And then for me, I had to assume the role of being the one that ran the household. So I had to do the cooking. I had to do the cleaning. I had to do the chores and do the errands outside of the home. So for me, I had to grow up faster.
Yes, you did.
Because, at the time, my older brother was away. My younger brother is looking up on me. So I got to make sure he's taken care of. And then I need to take care of my mom. So it was a different perspective, so to speak, going through that type of situation.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that with us, because some of us, I have driven through Mississippi and a few other states. But we kind of get a feel of you as a person. I know there seems to be this built-in, not sensitivity, but intuitiveness that you have about yourself. I know that I just sense that about you, just with me interacting with you. You're just in tune, which is good. I'll never forget my experience when I came in. And you were like, you know what, we're going to maximize the moment. We're going to get these photos in. And you were so professional. You went above and beyond.
Well, thank you.
So happy with my photos. I mean, it was just a nice time. And it's nothing like, being with someone who handles their business and just exceeds your expectations, So as you were coming up, what was it like trying to discover yourself as a young Black man in Mississippi?
What's interesting about that, Mississippi has a stereotype. Part of it is rightfully due, because Mississippi has a dark history to it.
Yes.
And there's a stigma that still associates with Mississippi. If you tell somebody I'm from Mississippi, they still thinking, oh, y'all in the fields there, because the mindset is we are trapped in slavery.
Yeah.
I mean, many people will look down upon you because they're thinking, oh, you just country bumpkin. You don't know anything. You haven't been anywhere, because that is the stigma of Mississippi.
I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
But as you start having the conversation and dialogue, people, they get to see a totally different and have a greater appreciation of your upbringing. Wow. So for me, I look at it as being blessed and fortunate, because here it is. I know how to take a little and maximize in order to get a greater return. So I can take I don't need much. And the opportunities that's been afforded to me, especially in a greater Houston area, I've been able to take those experiences, whether it's my matriculation at Alcorn State University, where, we were introduced to a plethora of things, especially when you start doing internships and co-ops, and then going on to do the doctoral program in the greater Houston area. I just felt like I was able to maximize and, get the best out of my experiences because, this is a country little kid from Mississippi who didn't have much growing up. So you give me those opportunities, I'm definitely going to make the best of
it. You're going to run with it. Now, what was that college experience like going to Alcorn?
Now, I'm going to tell you, Alcorn State University imparted and gave me such a great chance or a great opportunity to succeed. And I'm going to tell you why. I was fortunate and blessed from the standpoint because I excel well in my academics, and I was extremely driven to do so. I wasn't even going to school in Mississippi. I was going to Wilberforce in Ohio off of a full scholarship. And I was allowed by helping my god sister move in. I was like, I really like this school. By the time I get my god sister set up at Alcorn, I have already committed to Wilberforce in Ohio. I had scholarship offers everyone. I mean, I at that time was offered maybe $300,000 in scholarships, different places, including the military. It was bananas, but I hadn't even applied for schools in Mississippi. The only school that I even considered, USM had put me in their gifted studies program. And so they wanted me to come to them, and Mississippi State had been courting us because I had done internships there.
Okay.
So between those schools are the only two schools that were even on my radar in Mississippi.
Wow.
And I wasn't looking at HBCUs.
Okay.
Because I was being coached up as if I needed to go to a PWI.
Okay.
And so that gives you some context there.
Yes.
And so when I get to Alcorn, I'm looking at a HBCU that is immaculate, pristine. The beauty of Alcorn, I could not believe that even exists in Mississippi.
Until you went to see it, huh?
Until I went to see it. And so from there, I started, and it was the day before they were supposed to have school, and I wasn't going to start for another week of school. So when I got back, I told my godmother, I said, I really like this school that named Alcorn. Well, little did I know, my godmother was like the Alcornite of the year. Everybody knew her as Miss Queen. She's still alive now. She's over 80 years old.
Wow.
And she made a phone call to the president, Dr. Bristow, and I didn't even go to play the musical chairs. He called me and said, Jared, I want you in my office tomorrow morning by 8 a.m. So
calls work.
He had my schedule made out. There was a offer letter of a full scholarship. I mean, everything that I needed was right in his office. So I didn't even have to do nothing that the other students did for enrollment purposes. Everything was done.
Come on now. Come on, somebody. I want people to know you did the work, but he did the pushing because you earned your spot, but you were able to get there a little faster because grandma had a hookup. She had a phone call. So keep your contacts handy. You never know when you may need them.
A lot of people don't really catch that. Your network can control your network. It can have a strong influence on it.
Yes, sir.
And that's the part that we get caught up on. I need this degree or that may be your entry, but you might need somebody to help push things through.
Come on, somebody.
Or even pull you through, and if you put your hands in their hands and interlock, you may find there's a wind that's coming beneath your wings that's going to help you get the push that you didn't even know was there.
Come on, somebody, because you want to be able to say, this is what I'm bringing to the table. But it's nothing like somebody blessing you and saying, here's an open door.
That's correct. That is absolutely
you
correct.
had to earn your keep in order to qualify to have the door open. So you did your part. But honey, grandma had something up her sleeve. So what was that college experience like?
Well, at Alcorn, I was able to do a multitude of things. First off, I'm already having conversation and dialogue with the president. So he's taking an active interest in me. Now think about it. Here's someone on his level imparting information, wisdom, knowledge, and resources into a kid that he barely even knows. Now, from there, now I am becoming a student ambassador, a student leader. Now, after a semester or two, now I got a 4.0 for the year. So now I'm on the president's list. And then I start pledging. At that point, I cross Alpha, and then I become the step master. And then through Alpha, you're able to do a lot of leadership trainings. So the unique thing about Alpha is it exposes you to so many different opportunities. So as you're going through Alpha, you're going to find, or you're going through any fraternity, most of them are going to give you an ability or a platform to really show your gifts and talents. What I mean by that is there's oratorical contests, there's community service projects, there's things that you can do in the community. You're able to see community building, relationship building, and a lot of those tools that you are either accessing or that you're learning, you're putting them in your bag of tricks, and you don't know it, but it's preparing you for life. So you're learning how to network. You're learning how to go to a 5-star meal or a 5-course meal and network with the governor, and then leave there. And now you're going to meet the pastor of a church. And then you leave there. And now you're going to deal with some less fortunate persons. And now you're able to utilize all these gifts, these talents, these skills, and you don't know it. But your matriculation as an individual, your entire being, now you're understanding what's purpose like. What is it like to live on purpose and really look out for your fellow man? So you are developing. And so many people, they'll tell you quick, your development in college is basically going to give you the skill set to live this life. And many times you find your purpose.
I can definitely agree with that. And I can see that for many, some people are late bloomers, but having had education for me was a game changer because I'm a visionary and I was able to pivot when I needed to pivot. I was able to take my education and take it a little further, to get some certifications that I would not have been able to qualify for had I not had a degree. It's just some things I would not have been able to do. You can only speak to your level of competency. So thank you for making that point. So, as you're on this immaculate campus, you meet somebody special along the way.
I did.
This is the love of your life.
Yeah, she is. And the craziest, she would probably lose it, but I got to share it because I'm just a transparent person. Okay, so while I was in college, here it is, the person that I thought I was going to settle down with, things started getting rocky. And as things got rocky, now it's time for me to move on. So I am in my senior year of college. I felt as though I've achieved the things that's necessary for me to achieve. I've done several scholarships, I've done several internships from Florida State to FAMU to, just all over the country. I've done co-ops. I've now started this program with the government. So Waterways Experimental Station allowed me to kind of expound on my laboratory skills. So here it is, I'm doing research for the government. But now it's at a point where I decide I'm going to go ahead and get a master's. And so in the event of me getting a master's, I'm getting ready to graduate. Then my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, I am on campus giving tours.
Hey, okay.
And in the event of me giving tours, here she is coming with an attitude asking, can she just go to her dorm because she does not want to do the tour? It's too hot. So I'm like, no, we don't give special treatment to anyone. And
Okay.
so that kind of gives you that
An idea of her
kind of
personality, huh?
that gives you the context of who my wife is.
He likes her special treatment, y'all. Y'all better know it. And so you
Yeah.
meet her and you realize, what was it like? Why? What was it with you? Essentially, you were an educated man. You were a man who had purpose, passion, and preparedness. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so with men like that, they move a little differently because they're not just looking to get married. They're
That's
looking for
correct.
someone that they can build with. So what made you say, you know what? This is Mrs. Raphael. I'm this for the rest of my life. I'm good. Forever, ever, ever.
Well, the unique thing is, Rakaya, she showed me certain characteristics and qualities that I thought was unique. My wife is the type, she's never going to go out in public not having herself all together. So she's extremely going to be well put together. The unique thing is, while I was doing my master's, I got to see what type of student she was. So she's smart, she's intelligent, she handles her business from that regards. But then I also got to see other aspects of her. She was a leader.
Right.
She became the SGA president. So
Mhm.
she was just as equally as I was in the same capacity because she had those qualities. And so those qualities I was attracted to. And so for me, I felt as though she complimented me. And once we were able to see our career aspirations, the things that we wanted out of life, it was a no-brainer for me. It was a no-brainer.
You knew
A lot,
wife.
everything lined up. Yeah. It once I saw the alignment, it was a no-brainer.
Gotcha. Well, that's good because apparently you felt she was someone that you were equally yoked with, you know.
Correct.
Type that always prayed for a wife when you were younger, or you just was like, you know what, this is what I want, this is what I'm gonna get.
I'm the type where I was so into my career and building, I wasn't really looking for a wife. And then the person that I thought I could see myself with, that didn't work out. And so I was really about to do a full court press because I wanted to be this millionaire by the age of 30. And I had my head already set on the things that I wanted to achieve. I wanted to go to med school. I already saw my plans, and I'm the type, I have so many people imparted in me, from godparents to mentors. Two of my mentors, one is a chiropractor, the other one is a dentist. They both were a part of the 100 Black Men. These were people who gathered me in the 9th grade and made sure I was on a certain path. They were exposing me to their meetings where I'm around the most powerful Black men in the Mississippi Delta. So I was fortunate because I had examples to model myself, and I could see certain attributes in each one of them. And there were certain things that I liked about them that I said, okay, I need that in my bag of tricks. I need that as a part of what I'm trying to do that's going to help me get to where I need to get, where I want to be in life. So for me, I was very fortunate. Most people would say, well, you grew up in Mississippi. Yeah, you might, again, associate that stigma. But because I had those influentials who are some of the most influentials of Mississippi at my disposal, for me, it was the best of both worlds.
It's a beautiful story to hear how your mentoring paid off. How
Yeah.
so many people just poured into you and exposed you to what you needed so that you can have the best quality life as possible. So as you're
Yeah.
moving forward and you have to get into your career choice, talk a little bit about that because it's very interesting, from your
Okay.
that you have, how you ended up in oil and gas, and prior to that, photography, all of that, y'all. And J. Raphael, sit back and get your popcorn because he's going to you on to a few careers. Okay, we're listening.
Now, the unique thing is, I knew that I had some specialty. I knew I had a special situation or a unique gift. And so, because of that, I was able to interact with some people that showed me, hey, you're good at this, but you can take this to another level. Now, the unique thing is, I started picking up a camera my sophomore year in college. The person that was the school photographer was gracious enough to me how to shoot professionally, but I wasn't thinking I was going to use it. By my senior year, I was shooting all of my frat brothers' weddings. I still at that point didn't see it from a business standpoint because I was giving away my gift. I mean, literally giving it away. So I'm shooting.
I've been there.
So
It has to be a return on investment some way, somehow. I'm past that, but I hear you, brother, because that's what we do when you're a giver and you just want to give, you just want to help. But sometimes the best part about your gift, you don't even realize it exists. So you got to show it to you and package it so you can go ahead and have that small business. Note to some young people out there, some adults out there.
Yeah. So the unique thing is I am at a point where I'm giving away my gifts. I've invested a lot of money in all of this photography equipment because every time I need to do a specific look or a specific setup for a unique situation, like if I'm shooting indoor, outdoor, if I'm shooting a wedding or if I'm shooting an event, and because different people are asking me to do different things, now I'm learning different tricks to the trade, not understanding I'm giving away services that everybody else is paying for.
Come on, somebody.
And I now have in my possession all of this equipment that these other people are running a full-time business off of. So at that point, I still didn't maximize on it. I continued to give my gift away until 2008. By that point, I was teaching nursing school. I had just finished up my chiropractic. I was practicing, but I wasn't really taking photography as a profession serious. But then at that point, I'm now having my second child, and I'm like, I got to make extra money, and teaching nursing school wasn't cutting it.
Come on now.
Now, at that point, I said, this is where I got to take this serious. So by the time I joined Tri-County Regional Black Chamber of Commerce, I started being exposed to the importance of having an LLC. They start talking about the LLC versus the DBA. Then when they started talking about S corps, and so now I'm getting this education for free because I'm basically volunteer or donating my time to the chamber. But in exchange, I'm learning about all of these business practices that are essential for you if you're really going to do business.
That's right.
Because instead of me just doing a hustle, now I'm looking at this as a business.
Come on, somebody.
Now, fast forward to maybe 2009, maybe 2010, I'm now doing photography. I am teaching nursing school.
Hmm.
I am writing anatomy textbooks and lab manuals. And then I coupled that where the publishing company started coming to me asking me to review their ancillaries.
Come on
But
in.
then I started writing the lab manuals for A&P exclusively. And at that point, I needed images of specimen, which I now start photographing my own images, where I learned the importance of publishing and licensing your own materials. So now I'm understanding what copyright is all about. And so now everything becomes full circle because now I'm learning this is how you do business in this different arena. But because I'm a professor, now I'm learning the importance of doing things that align with your profession where you can make residual income without having to do more work. So you're basically getting paid multiple streams without having to do anything different that you're already doing.
Come on in.
So it all came full circle for me. And by the time that happened, I'm wearing so many different hats and benefiting from all of them. But
say that one more time. You wear multiple hats and doing what?
I'm benefiting from all
of them. Okay.
Yeah. And so that's where things really got interesting because, my mom health was taking a hit. And so I needed to be able, and now I have 2 kids. So I now need to be generating enough revenue to kind of help out with my mom household and take care of my own household. Wow. And I'm looking at, okay, well, as a young couple, you want some of the better things or the finer things in life. So now I'm having to buy vehicles and, build retirement, my forever home. And so you're trying to connect the dots. But I would say maybe 8 to 10 years later, by 2018, here's one thing that stuck with me. And this is where things going to really get interesting. Here it is. I'm doing multiple things. I'm happy in some regards, but I'm now dealing with the bureaucracy of being a Black man in a situation where I don't see them as competition, but all of the people in your department or in your profession are almost threatened by you because you're educated and you're doing things like, I'll give you a case in point. My classes, when they went online from the university, when my classes went online, my courses would be already maxed out. And we're talking about within 45 minutes.
I believe it.
And so then at that point, these students are asking the dean for an override to get in my courses. And then now they're trying to figure out what is it that he's doing where all these students don't want to take his course. And so at that point, before COVID and all that, here it is, I'm recording myself and putting my lectures online. And so then I was approached, well, we want you to clone yourself and basically make online courses. And I'm like, then I'm giving away all of my work because who's going to benefit? I'm not going to benefit from that. And then I started looking at, well, I remember these students when I first started teaching, and these kids were making $6,000 every 2 weeks. And I'm like, how are they able to do this?
Right.
They used to walk in my class with a laptop, 2 cell phones, and a pager. And I never would forget it. These kids were watching gauges in the oil and gas industry. That was their only job, to watch gauges. And I was like, something has to change.
That's what exposure will do. That's what exposure will do. The hustle is real, but guess what? There should be seasons of building and seasons of planting seeds and seasons of reaping a harvest from every seed that you planted. But you said something had to change, brother. Go ahead.
Something has to change because here I am. I have all these degrees. I'm teaching all these courses. I am doing all these work for different publishing companies, and I'm only making this. But these kids are coming in my class and they're getting these degrees, but yet and still they're going after certifications. So I knew about certifications from a business standpoint, like,
Right.
you know, if I needed to get a contract with the city where I had to be hub certified or I had to have an NBE or, those certifications. But as I'm listening to these kids are getting associate degrees, but they're getting certifications that move them up within the company. So, as a layperson in one regard and as a business professional in another, I'm now having to learn, hey, just because they don't have a degree doesn't mean these people are not successful or not really getting their bag. They're securing the bag.
Yeah.
I will never forget it. It was 2017. I started really, really diving into, well, what is it that I can do? Because after I had a conversation with the retirement person at the time, and they were telling me, with me having 11 years in, this is what I stand to gain as a retirement. And I said, okay. And so I could either be like most of the other professors and end up dying, and don't leave the classroom until I die out, or I can go try to do something different. So lo and behold, I said, I had a meeting with my family. I said, I'm very interested in going a different route. And so I said, oil and gas seems to be where the money really is. And when I researched it, I found drilling fluids engineering, because if you get with one of these service companies for oil and gas, you're able to work 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. And I said, well, I could still I can just structure where I can have all of my bookings on my 2 weeks off schedule. And now I'm able to make money on multiple fronts as if I have 2 full-time jobs.
Come on.
I said, with my retirement already secure with teaching, I think it's time for me to go do something else.
That's right.
And it took me a year to get in, because in oil and gas, you have to know somebody. But by the time I had put all of my applications in and done all the preliminary, Halliburton gave me a call and they made me an offer, and I couldn't believe it. They made me an offer and said, but you would have to go to our drilling fluids school here in Houston on our campus. And the school is for, like, at the time they were talking about it was going to be 3 months. I said, okay, that's fine. For me, I've never been afraid of education, and I like a challenge. And so I did that. I was out in West Texas. And so I excelled in my job. I ended up being in that national magazine. And so my pay was extremely good. It was climbing. And then just 3 months ago, I think it's been 3 months now, I got an opportunity I would never thought would happen, where they approached me and said, we would like to have you to go offshore. And that's where the real money.
What? Yeah, that's where the money really coming in. I want people to know Schlumberger, Chevron, Citgo, Halliburton. I live in an energy corridor. Okay. And I'll never forget. People all over the world come right here to the energy corridor. Okay. And I'm trying to tell you, it's beautiful too. It's just beautiful. And, I'll never forget when I was chasing money, because that's what I was doing at the time, when I felt like that's what I needed to do to provide for me and mine. I said, let me go ahead and apply to some oil companies. But the reality of the situation was it wasn't a good fit because I couldn't travel. Here it is, beautiful oil company right a corner from my home. But I was so grateful to God that he showed me. I mean, when you walk in Citgo over there on, okay, it is just beautiful, looks nothing like it looks on the outside, and the security is top notch. Okay.
Yes.
But I say that to say, God had a way of showing me, if I wanted you here, this is where you would be. This is not where you're supposed to be, because he had a different plan and a different purpose. And I just remember praying, like, I need this, I need this, I want this, I want that. This is, I need to get to this. No, that'll come, but it's going to come in time the way that it needs to come. You're going to learn about wealth building. You're going to learn about, prioritizing. You're going to be able to maximize your time. You're going to be able to touch and reach people, So I get it. I get it that, that door was open for you. And I'm so grateful that you're able to move in that arena and to be able to provide for your family.
Yeah, I am too.
So when you were with you traveling with Halliburton, what are some of the experiences that you had, or like some of the eye-opening experiences, whether it's with your photography, whether it's with the oil company per se, because someone with your background, it just seems like you're consistently being exposed to a different way of life, and that sooner or later, God is just leading you to your next step.
Yeah. And that's on multiple fronts. And I'm going to explain it like this. When I first started the oil and gas, and I was driving into West Texas, and by the time I get to Odessa, I would get my company truck and do what I need to do for my job. And so while I was at work for 14 days at a time, I may have rigs from New Mexico to around the Loving area. And then I would have some that's in the Odessa or the greater Odessa area of West Texas. Now, here's the catch. Right. What you're going to find is it's a different way of life, one that I didn't know even existed out there, because as far as the eye would see, all you would see is oil rigs. But it gave me a different appreciation for the lifestyle. And, you wouldn't think that out there where you just see tumbleweeds, these people have ridiculous money. I'm talking about private jets. I'm talking about, Monday through Friday, you may see them in a company work truck. But on the weekend, their lifestyle is not one that you would even notice. And guess what? Many of those persons who are running the operations out there live right in our neck of the woods. They're right in the greater Houston area, in the Woodlands area. And I'm talking about
Kingsland, Woodlands, okay?
The salaries would surprise you. It may not surprise you because you understand, but oil and gas is an industry where I never thought I would be. But now that I'm in it, I'm wondering, why did it take me so long to get in it?
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, it goes back to what you said. One thing about Houston, if you're paying attention, connections, you have to be connected. Yes. I've had certain positions that I had, and I had people pull me to the side, like, who you know? It was nothing but God. Even though everybody on the team may have had certain credentials, I did not. But it was nothing but God. My skill set, hardworking, the abilities that I carry. You have to work hard. I had an opportunity to interview Laurie Vignall a couple of weeks ago. And, like she said, your work ethic, that is one of the things that people will remember you by. And I remember being a little girl and my grandfather teaching me scripture, like, whatever you do it with all your might. Like, he will pull out his Bible and show me that scripture. And
totally agree.
Just to see you go so hard to provide for your family and to be determined to have the lifestyle, because you do have a beautiful home and your wife be in there with that interior decorating and your kids just be all happy, but daddy is on it. And it's important for these men to listen to what you're saying, because you found your way. You were determined to provide for you and your women, your mama too. Come on, somebody. Come on.
Yeah.
So what's next for J. Raphael as we're in the process of winding down the podcast? Make sure you give everyone your contact information. I have the privilege of being on your social media accounts, so I get a chance to see all the beautiful photos, including my own that you did for me. And I'll be back again when I'm ready for a do-over, but I'm still enjoying the photos. I got plenty of photos.
You do.
I enjoy the ones that I have. And I'm just so grateful that you made time to share some of your journey with me today.
Oh, it was totally my pleasure.
Here and there, and I'm aware of some things that you've had to walk through, but for the world to hear it on an Inspiration Incubator, that's a blessing for someone who needs to be inspired. That they can take the time they need and get those certifications or get that education and do what they need to do. So what's next for Jay?
I think the next thing for me, being that I've been international for about 7-8 years now with the photography, I know for a fact I'm going to travel a lot on my downtime. But as I get it more in depth with the offshore oil and gas aspect, I think it's going to take me into Abu Dhabi, Dubai. I know for a fact I'm going to revisit the Caribbean, because that's something that if I don't get to do it on nobody else's dime, I would do it on my own, because the photography, the beauty or natural beauty that you're going to see in those Caribbean countries are second to none for me.
I know that's right. And I'll share this with you. I took a course in photography. Now, was this before or after Love Jones? Because Love Jones is like my favorite love story. It just is. And I remember my son was a baby and I went to see it with his dad. I remember that. But I said all that to say I actually developed film in a dark room, everything. So I still have those photographs that I developed and created on my own, and I still have that camera. I love photography. So give everybody your social media so they can come on and support you and see what you
I'm easy to find. So for me, the company name is J. Raphael's Photography. The Raphael comes from my middle name. So it's J. Raphael's Photography, LLC. You're going to find us on all your major platforms: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, you name it. You're going to find J. Raphael's. The way that you find us on any of those social media platforms is at the @ J. Raphael Photos. So it's JRAPHAEL Photos, PHOTOS. The number for us is 832-582-4423.
Wow. Jay, it has been great. Thank you so much for sharing some of your story with us today. Thank you for being an inspiration to people in Mississippi and your household here to Houston and beyond.
Well, I thank you for having me.
You're welcome.